Today, I'm going to share with you 3 great ways to purchase a home with no cash down. Stay tuned.
You better get fired up.
Happy Friday, guys. You've got questions, I've got answers. The question this week is, can I buy a home with no cash down? And the answer is unequivocally, I can't even say that word, unequivocally. Man, why would I use a word like that? It's assuredly yes. Yes, you can. Let's stick with easy words, Joe. So today I'm going to go over the 3 ways that you're able to do this. And there might even be a couple other ways, but these are the 3 ways that I see are most common, right? The number one way is a VA loan. If you've got a VA loan available to you, which means you're a veteran, and there's some other asterisks to it, but pretty much if you're a veteran, then you can purchase a home. There is no down payment. There is what's called a funding fee, and it can be hefty. It can also be zero, depends on a couple different things, but you can add that into your loan so it doesn't have to come out of pocket, and you can get the seller to negotiate covering all of your closing costs, right? So all your closing costs are paid for, your down payment's paid for, you're good to go. You're zero cash. In fact, I've seen some veterans come to close and they actually get cash back. So that is one way. Now, you may be saying, well, Joe, I was never in the military, so that's not really an option for me. I completely understand. So let's go to option number 2. Option number 2, and I want to say one thing before we get into option number 2. You've got 2 different things coming out of your pocket when you're buying a home. You've got closing costs and you've got your down payment. Your down payment is different depending upon the type of loan that you've got. Typically with an FHA loan, you're going to be a minimum of 3.5% down, although you can go more down. And with a conventional, you're going to be a 5% minimum down unless you're a first-time home buyer. First-time home buyer does not mean you've never owned a home. It means you have not owned a homestead property in the last 36 months. If you fit that, you can get a conventional loan with 3% down. So you're looking 3 to 3.5% down on that loan, right? So you're saying, okay, well, Joe, you said zero cash down. There's kind of an asterisk to this, but it does fit enough people that I want to make sure that you're aware of this. You can get gifted funds from certain people, right? And you've got to talk to your lender to see if this program allows it. How much do they allow? What are the stipulations? And you can get the funds given to you. So if you've got, say, a family member who's willing to help you with that 3.5% down payment, and you find a seller who will negotiate them paying your closing costs, boom, you've come to closing with no cash down. And that is awesome. So that is a second way to do it. The third way to do it is way more challenging, but it's the one I probably get asked about the most, unless you're a veteran. And that is some sort of, and there's a lot of different ways to do this, but I'm going to say a contract for deed is probably the most typical, right? Some sort of seller financed option where you're coming in with zero down. Now, typically, people who are coming to me saying, I want to buy a home on a contract for deed, they're typically asking me that because they can't get a normal loan. And they can't get a normal loan for one or two of 2 reasons. They either have poor credit and or they don't have any cash, right? Well, it is 100% negotiable. Like if you go to Wells Fargo, you want a loan, it is not negotiable. You are getting this rate that Wells Fargo tells that salesperson, that lender in front of you that you're getting, and they can't negotiate it. It is what it is. They can raise your closing costs to lower your fee. They can lower your closing costs to raise your fee, right? They can do different things like that, but you can't just hardball them into giving you a better rate. Like that's not a thing. So when you're dealing with a person, Joe Rosen, Bob Jackson, whoever, and they're selling the property on some sort of seller finance deal, usually a contract for deed, you can negotiate anything. You can negotiate 0% interest. You can negotiate a 23-year term, right? Normally it's 15 or 30. You can negotiate no cash down. You can negotiate anything you want that fits within the realm of state and federal law. You're good to go. And there really aren't that many limitations as far as terms and money is concerned. So you can come up with just about anything that you can dream up. Have I ever seen it with zero down? I have. But there are usually other terms that make up for it, right? There's something there. So I'll give you 2 examples. I've seen zero down in 2 situations. Number one, either, let's say it's a $350,000 home. They say, okay, we'll do zero down, but your interest rate's going to be 11%. And you're not going to buy it for $350, even though we know it's worth $350. You're going to pay $400 for it. Now they'll do it with zero down. So usually you're going to pay somewhere else. it's not always price. There's terms involved too. And if you're willing to take crappier terms, sometimes you can get a better price. If you're wanting a better price, you got to give up terms. And here, the term that you would want is no cash down. Another situation where I see it is, I'm 83 years old and I live in another home. This is just a second home, and I'm going to sell it to you, my grandson, and you're just getting married, and I'm excited to see you get married. So I tell you what, it's worth 350. I sell it to you at 350. We'll make it a 15-year loan, and whatever 350 divided by 15 years worth of payments is, we'll just do it at zero interest. Nothing down. Don't worry about it. You're my grandson. Can you do that? Unquestionably. Now, that's something, again, unless you're shopping just for grandma and grandpa's home or your mom and dad's home, you're probably not going to see that, right? To give you awareness of how challenging it is to find a property like that, I looked up the other day for a friend of mine, lease options, right? Which is not a contract for deed. It's a little bit different, but a lease option. And I looked from Port St. Lucie all the way up to Sebastian. I don't know how many listings there are, but I'd be willing to bet it's probably 3, 4, 5,000 listings on the market, property listings. And out of those 3, 4, 5,000, 3 offered a lease option. When I called all 3, 2 said that it was a mistake that they had put it in that way. So only 1 out of 3 to 5,000 was actually offering a lease option. If I were to do contract for deed, it would also be a very small number. So the challenge with that is, a lot of people will hear that, and I've gone through this so many times. They're going to say, okay, cool, let's go buy one of those. But then the challenge is, okay, in an entire city of Port St. Lucie where there's 250 to 300,000 people, you might have 5 offering it to you, and only 2 are even in your price range. And when you look at those 2, you're like, I don't like these 2 at all. And that can be challenging, right? When you're looking at the entire market, you can usually find 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 properties that you would buy, that you'd be excited to live in for a while and invest in. When your sole goal is to get seller financing or 0% down, you're sucking down that seller pool quite a bit, and now your options are really small. And then when you add to it, you get a certain price point that you're trying to hit, it just becomes challenging. I don't say that to be negative. If you guys know me, I will walk through fire to get what it is I want, and I'll do the same for my clients. I just want to be realistic with people so they know what kind of fire they're walking through. Some of these fires are little matches that are lit. It's not a big deal. We'll just step right over that. We're good to go. Some of these things are house fires that you got to walk through. It's a big deal. It's going to be a huge challenge, and I want to make sure people see that. So that second option that I talked about, if you're not a veteran, is the most likely option, where you get some sort of gift from a family member, and then you get the closing costs covered by the seller. I see it all the time. It's absolutely normal. And it's honestly something I'll probably look to do with my kids when they get out of high school right away, because I want them being homeowners. I do not want them being renters. So I'm probably going to do the same thing for them. If you guys have any other questions with this or with another idea that you would like in next week's I've Got Questions, You've Got Answers, You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers, feel free to put it in the comments, and I'm happy to look at that. We're here every single Friday at 11 o'clock where we answer your questions. Guys, thanks for joining me, and have a fabulous Friday and a great weekend.